Self-care was a way for you to move away from the world in order for you to center yourself in a meaningful way, in a less expensive way, in a way that you defined for yourself. However, now you don't define anything for yourself anymore. It is defined for you. What once was about taking care of yourself has now turned into something that's much bigger than us and probably maybe much bigger than the industry itself. And sometimes I'm pretty sure self-care feels like it's impossible to afford. Self-care will be the death of us because it has now become a privilege. Something that is attainable for you at home in your own pace, in your own way, has now become a privilege because it has been labeled something that requires money. If you want to participate in self-care for your body, you need to make sure that you're going through and going to classes of yoga. Have a gym membership. Working out at home for some people is not enough anymore. Having a 50-step skincare routine. Yes, seriously. I actually saw somebody say, my 50-step self-care routine. That is not normal. First off, your skin can't even take that much product because the layers only can take and absorb so much. But nobody even thinks about that anymore because we are seeing it as appealing and aesthetic. Sometimes when we do not know the key differences between two things, it kind of opens us up to basically going for anything and everything. So right now I want us to define the definition between self-care and self-indulgence. Self-care is you actually being proactive. You're taking action and trying to be in control as much as you can of your responsibilities over your body and your mental health and things that you have to do to make sure that you can survive. Self-indulgence is passive because you are engaging in activities that are distracting you from your actual problems. They are masking the uncomfortableness that you feel at that present moment and not actually addressing the core value, which is what self-care actually does. I don't even know if this is an actual word, but I think I'm an advocate of self-care. If you look at my TikTok, it actually says personal growth and self-care because I believe it's really important for you to take care of yourself as a person, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can easily become burnt out. You can easily become inaccessible to other people and inaccessible to yourself as well because you are not looking after yourself. And that's what I define as self-care. However, I do have a video where I am showing you what my self-care routine is. And it does include taking a bath. To be quite honest, I take showers more than I take baths. So when I do take a bath, it really is a moment of self-care where I'm like, okay, I need to relax and take care of my body in order for me to feel good. It isn't necessarily about the products I use and the things that I do. It's just really about me relaxing. Self-care has become self-indulgent because it has moved away from the actual core reason and core definition that it was actually meant to have. And this is all mainly because of social media. That is why the shift has actually happened. Influencers and even wellness brands have been now actually promote and idolize a version of self-care that is very different to what the core meaning is. Suddenly we're told that the true meaning of self-care is a vacation to Bali or you buying yourself a luxury bag. For the people that are unable to afford this, what they are hearing is that you are basically unable to have self-care and you do not deserve self-care because of your social standing. Unfortunately, it actually has become more about aesthetics than it is about well-being. I know that some people will say, oh, but like this is how some other people live. This is their definition of self-care. But in reality, even in psychology, no, it isn't. It's an escape. That is not the real thing. We are different people. We do deal with things very differently. However, if you are an influencer and a brand, it is very important to think about the things that you are putting out because you need to think about how people are receiving them. And as a person that posts things online, you have to be very mindful about the fact that these things that you post, they might be communicating a certain message. When somebody is an avid social media user and they are constantly seeing these routines that have lavish things like lavish candles, lavish products, what it is communicating to them is you are not enough. Yes, it might not be the intention of the person that is making the content, but that is what is being received. Self-care should never make you feel inadequate or guilty in any way, shape, or form. And I think that's why it is really important for the people that do make this kind of content to be mindful of the things that they do put out and the impact that they have on society and their audience. How do we actually reclaim self-care to what it actually should be? Well, I think first let's start with the fact that let's have a self-care routine that requires us not buying anything at all. Make your self-care routine more accessible, not only to other people, but to yourself as well. Don't put yourself under the pressure of having to go and buy things that you most likely also can't really afford in the sake of self-care, and saying I need to spoil myself when other parts of your life are actually suffering because of you wanting to take care of yourself in that way. Consumerist self-care is unrealistic, and the self-care that you and I constantly see right now on our screens is not real. And sadly, just because we see people on the screen for a minute, 30 seconds, we think, oh my gosh, that's what I have to do. And what we forget is we are all different people. What works for me might not work for you. So I think for us to go back and circle back to the core meaning of self-care, we need to look within. We actually need to self-introspect and figure out what works for us. I am curious though, what is your definition of self-care? Do you believe in having to consume, or, well, let's not say consume. Do you believe that you have to actually go out and buy stuff in order for you to feel like this is self-care? Or do you feel like you could have a good routine at home without having to go and purchase anything? I'm very curious about what you think, but the main takeaways from this is self-care is not something that has to cost you anything. It is really important to define it for yourself. Sometimes when we're feeling bombarded by the pressures and definitions that we're given by social media, we need to actually do our own research and figure out things on our own, because we don't always have to give in to everything that we are shown and everything that we see on our screens. This includes this video as well, so take it with a grain of salt. I am really happy to be back, and this was kind of nerve-wracking, and this might be a little bit rusty, this first video, but it will get better as soon as I get back into everything. But I thought this was something that was really good to talk about, because it really has been on my mind and I wanted to kind of divulge more into it. So let's start the conversation and talk more about it in the comments down below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.